Hello and welcome to the On the Slate Movie Podcast. I'm Wesley.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Asher.
And On the Slate for today is a look back into some successful and unsuccessful fall movie releases, our analysis of the latest Spider-Man news, some upcoming releases, and some recommendations from our recent watch list. Hit the music. I figured that we could start with looking back at some successful fall releases at the box office. And I have listed here 4, and there's also some really bad ones too, but we can start with the good ones. The first one we can talk about is Transformers 1. It's an animated movie that serves as like an origin, but I don't think it's really connected to any specific ongoing Transformers run or show or movie series. It's kind of its own thing, but it does tell the origin of Optimus Prime, which he's not called Optimus Prime in the movie, is a different name. I can't remember what it was. And also the origins of Megatron. Did any of y'all watch that movie?
I only saw the trailer.
I'm very familiar with the movie. I wanted to see it, but you didn't take me.
I didn't take you. You're an adult, Jason. But okay.
Oh, man.
But from what I understand, it's an adaptation of the origin story of the Transformers, kind of like mythos and some of the more popular characters. But it's also kind of its own version of it, from what I could tell. It's not one-to-one to like what's established in the original cartoon, or even I believe it's originally like a manga, I think, maybe a comic. But it takes a lot of those elements and kind of puts it on the screen, probably for the first time outside of a video game from back in like 2012 that kind of covers similar events.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when the trailer came out, I really did not like it. It looked dumb. It looked cheesy. But the movie came out, and I actually thought it was pretty good. So that was a surprise. I think it had a lot more like darkness in it than I thought it was going to be. It was kind of mature in a way, not like in it had a lot of bad language, but it was mature in the sense of like these are themes that are a little bit heavier, I think, for younger kids. But I think it worked really well. You know, I don't think it's like the best movie of the year or anything, but considering it had a successful run, 57 million domestically, 124 million worldwide, off a $75 million budget, which is pretty manageable for a blockbuster animated movie nowadays. You know, Inside Out had a budget of like $200 million. So, yeah, that's a success. A lower budget and made it back. Good critical reviews. I mean, 64 on Metacritic, that's in the green. You know, that's pretty good. And 7.7 on IMDb is really solid. So,
From what I could tell, it feels like the marketing kind of did a disservice for the movie. Would you agree with that? With like the movie like kind of completely different from how the trailers made it look like it was going to be?
I was about to ask something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was different, but it was like a good different. Like, I feel like the movie trailer was more about like putting in all of the kids' jokes and the, low-hanging fruit type stuff. I feel like they could have explored a little bit more of the darker themes in the movie and like, what does it feel like to be betrayed? Like, how does it feel to be betrayed by your friend? And I think they really did a really good job of setting up the relationship between Megatron and Optimus Prime at the beginning. Yeah. So anyway, Beetlejuice.
That's the actual title? It's not just regular old Beetlejuice?
Yeah, it's the second Beetlejuice movie.
A very interesting name.
Yeah, because I think when you call Beetlejuice, if you say his name 3 times, he appears. So
it's also the second movie.
They're just playing off of that trope. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So $100 million budget and 438 million worldwide, 288 domestically. That's a really solid return. I mean, you got to think that even with the pretty big marketing budget on top of the regular budget, that's still a success. So however you guys exposed yourself to Beetlejuice movies at all or anything?
I've seen the original. This is something that when I heard about it coming out, I was like, man, I couldn't care less. Just because it felt like the 10th 10 millionth sequel in big 2024. However, it seems like I was kind of wrong about it. It seems like a lot of people actually thought it added to the Beetlejuice mythos or the story or whatever you want to call it. And they bring back some of the original, cast. I don't know. Even with the positive reception, I don't know if I'm like super like want to go out of my way to see it. But I guess I was kind of surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think when I went into it, I did see it going into it with the expectation of like, oh, like Michael Keaton's going to be like the main character. He's actually not. So I was a little bit put off by that. I was actually hoping to see more of him because I feel like his scenes were really good. He was really funny. I think he loves playing that role. But they opted for Jenna Ortega being the main character, who's teamed up with Tim Burton on Wednesday. I don't know if you guys have seen that show on Netflix. I haven't, but yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty solid. Tim Burton has a sketchy track record over the last like 20 years or so. And I think this is a solid entry in his, I don't know, repertoire or whatever you call it. But yeah, it was funny. It was like pretty funny. I'm not saying it was like laugh out loud, but I think the best part of the movie for me was what they did with like the production design, like the sets, because there's like this alternate world that Beetlejuice lives in. I don't know exactly the lore behind it, but also the makeup and the costumes are just really creative and like actually, that's not CGI. They actually make all of these elaborate costumes and do all this funny makeup. And they do have some CGI in it, but yeah, I think it really just enhances what they do. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets a nomination or a win, like at an Oscar for like makeup or something. It was really impressive. But
what about you, Asher? Have you seen the original Beetlejuice?
To be honest, no. I remember just a very brief memory of it maybe being on TV and my mom saying something about it. And that's kind of like it. Like I didn't decide to watch it, but I know about Michael Keaton's role and I know about, like I've seen a little bit of his character and the way he's acting. So like I'm kind of familiar with that character just in the very slightest amount. And so I was like kind of surprised when, this Beetlejuice came out and I was like, oh, like I guess this is something they think is worth tapping into in terms of a property pool and, doing something else. But I think also too, it's interesting that they chose Jenna Ortega because I think they saw the reception of Wednesday and then I think decided to kind of like capitalize on that and put her in a world that's still different, but also a very similar like
vibe.
Yeah. With similar like, how would you say like
aesthetic?
Yeah, the aesthetic of it and even the look and the mood and stuff as well. I thought it was something interesting that they did. So that's kind of like as much as I know about it. I know that Michael Keaton probably gave it his all because that's what he usually does.
Yeah, he does. He's funny. He really is funny. And yeah, like you said about Jenna Ortega, I think she's like a perfect fit for Tim Burton's style of filmmaking. Like it's like the gothic,
That's a good word.
Yeah. So, and the same cast is back as well, like Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara. So it has the returning people as well. It's a pretty solid movie. I mean, it's not going to be like my top 10 of the year or anything, but yeah, go see it. The Wild Robot, maybe the surprise of the last few months. I think a lot of people saw the trailer and were interested, but I was surprised on how like well received this was from audiences and critics alike. It's probably going to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature this year. I mean, it very well could. DreamWorks with a big entry here into the animated scene. So $78 million budget, made $232 million. I mean, that's a smash hit. 85 on Metacritic, which is really impressive. An 8.3, which I think would put it in the top 250 all time, like right in that range on IMDb, which is a pretty good list to make. So,
who's the production company?
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
Right. I know they made it. I don't know if they did all of production, distribution, and everything, but it's a DreamWorks movie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know the least about this of the movies we've talked about and are going to talk about. I do like remember seeing like stuff about it coming out, and I know that Pedro Pascal's in it.
He is.
But other than that, I don't know anything about it. So it's kind of interesting that it's kind of blown up as of like recent, like literally like within the last like 3 or 4 days. I think I've seen a ton of information about it. Where I only saw like maybe like one like trailer or snippet of a trailer.
Yeah.
In the months leading up.
Yeah. I was at a small group last night, and there was a couple who said they went to go see it on like a date night, and they couldn't stop talking about it. And I was like, okay, this is noted. You know, like I didn't think much of it. I guess maybe I had a little bit of a front cover judgment to it in a sense. Like I didn't maybe give it enough time to tell me what it really is about. But after hearing other people's responses, it does make me interested in it. And I honestly, to be very honest, kind of saw it at first and thought like, oh, this kind of looks like a Iron Giant ripoff. Like just very honestly, I was like, it looks kind of generic. I don't know if this is something I'm interested in. But after some people's responses, I'm like, okay, I should give this my time and see what it's about.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what it's about, it's basically this highly advanced service robot is in like being transported on a plane or a boat or something. And then that boat or plane crashes and it washes up on shore and somehow gets activated. And then basically instead of learning how to serve like people, it ends up learning how to adapt and live in the wild and how it meets all these animals. It's really creative. It's really funny. It's really heartwarming. I think it's it's an easy movie, a simple movie to like digest, but I think it also has deeper layers that you can unfold to. And I think kids and adults will both like it. So,
I mean, do you think it's going to compete with Inside Out 2?
At the box office?
Well, maybe not at the box office, but just kind of like critically.
Like critically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more critically acclaimed, I think, than Inside Out 2 is right now.
Okay.
Like,
wow. And I thought very highly of that.
Yeah, and Inside Out 2 is a really good movie too, but
which I finally watched, by the way.
Uh-huh.
You did?
Yeah.
What would you think?
Oh man, maybe we can talk about it another time.
Okay.
But
too much to talk.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, but to say the least, I thought it was a really intentional and well done sequel. Like it seemed like they really cared about not hitting that very sequelish status quo, and they really wanted to continue a story. And I thought there was a lot that was very executed well. Yeah. So
speaking of avoiding sequelish status quos, that's a segue right there. Smile 2.
Smile.
Look at the segue. Perfect segue. It's almost like we have an agenda in front of us and we know what to talk about.
What? That's amazing. Smile 2, $28 million budget. Amazing. Love that. $40 million domestically, $83 million worldwide, 7.2 IMDb score, 66 Metacritic score. That's all good. Nothing to complain about there. I haven't seen the movie, but
I wasn't going to watch it, like just based off of like the trailers and everything, because I just thought, and I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, where I just kind of thought it was like, it would be hard to kind of expand upon the first movie. But from what I could tell, is that it kind of takes the concept and exceeds on building out how the entity works. So now I'm going to go watch it. Hopefully, well, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it before October's out, but hopefully before then.
It is October 28th, so we got 1, 2, 3 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Or I'm looking the first Smile up, actually, on IMDb. See, just to kind of compare. I think the first one was probably a little bit more successful, like at the box office. I think they're probably pretty similar, though. The second movie...
Well, the second one is still running in theaters, though.
Yeah, true. Sorry.
Will the third one be, if they do a third one, will it be Frown? Because Two Smiles...
No,
Two
that's
Smiles,
the spinoff.
Oh, that's a spinoff.
Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe the fourth one, if they do like a TV show spinoff, it could be Resting Face.
Resting Resting Face. Yeah, I don't know, but that's yeah, it's got the first one made over $200 million worldwide. I mean, that seems achievable by the second one, and usually the second, like the sequel to a popular horror movie, usually doesn't do as well. But yeah, I mean, even if it doesn't do as well as the first one, I still think it's a success, and we'll probably see Smile 3 in another 2 or 3 years. So that's just how it goes with horror movies. So also another movie I didn't put on there, but I think is worth mentioning. There's another horror movie called The Substance that came out. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
Heard a lot of hoopla.
The Substance.
Hoopla.
So this movie is a critical success. And it's rare to see horror movies like get buzz like this. There's talk that it could be an awards contender. I don't buy it. I don't buy anything with horror movies ever getting nominated for anything except for Silence of the Lambs, and that was like 30 years ago. So
Not technically horror.
and that it's not even technically horror according to Jason. But yeah, the little synopsis says it's a fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. It's apparently like a body horror movie. It's kind of gross, but apparently Demi Moore gives like the performance of her career in this. So, and she's not as famous nowadays, but like back in the 90s, like G.I. Jane, stuff like that. So could be interesting to keep an eye on. So let's talk about some failures. These are the fun ones to talk about. So Megalopolis, I felt like we need to talk about this one. So Francis Ford Coppola, legendary film director, Godfather, Apocalypse Now. My roommate Michael's favorite movie is the courtroom drama one with Matt Damon. I forget what it's called. The Rainmaker. He's got all these really big hits. And he comes out with Megalopolis, which apparently the script has been worked on for like 30 or 40 years.
You can tell.
Like he really, this is like his passion project, $120 million budget, all funded by himself.
Wow.
No major studio wanted to do this movie. And after seeing it, I can understand why nobody wanted to pick up this movie. $12 million.
Wow.
It needs 10 times that just to break even with its budget. And no way it's going to get that because this movie's already been out for like a month and a half. I mean, some people are saying this is the worst movie ever. I'm not going to go that far, but wow, that's a big disappointment for a filmmaking legend.
I have to imagine he probably anticipated that, though, especially if no company wanted to like produce it for him. I mean, I guess you'd probably like want people to like it,
Yeah.
but
Do you think it'll be a movie that will sweeten over time? Because I know that's happened with some others.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think it's
so hard to tell. You never know when a movie's gonna like gain popularity all of a sudden
Yeah.
as culture changes,
Yeah.
tastes
I mean,
change.
potentially. I don't think this is going to be anything like a...
I mean, it sounds like it's kind of nonsensical.
Yeah, it's like... it's hard to describe. I think it does some good things with like the technical aspects of the movie. Like he's Francis Ford Coppola, but at the same time, like the acting choices are all over the place. You don't like it's a genre. Like what genre is this? It's really confusing to like understand what they're trying to go for. You know, the story itself it just kind of drags along and meanders. I don't know. It's just a really disappointing movie that has like these themes of like idealism and utopia, which, you know, I don't actually personally connect with those themes very much myself, but I don't think I didn't love the movie at all. You know, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but to me, Megalopolis was not worth the $120 million budget. And I think a production company, to your point, Jason, maybe would have picked it up if it was cheaper, but not at that price point. It had a lot of big stars, though. Shia LaBeouf is in it.
Hey,
He's not the lead character at all, but he's still making movies.
Wow. That's cool to hear, though.
Adam Driver was good, though.
Oh, Adam Driver was in it, too?
Adam Driver.
I like him as an actor as well. I mean, I give him respect, Francis, for funding it himself, because that's a big thing. And yeah, like that alone, much respect, but it does stink to see, something you put a lot of work in and it not make as much as it could to even break even. Yeah.
I don't know what he said on it after the fact, but maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm going to make this thing, and I get it's like literally for nobody but myself. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was that's what it was, and I'm going to spend a ton of money on it, $120 million apparently.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Venom: The Last Dance just came out. And honestly, monetarily, not that much of a failure. I think it's going to be fine. Domestically, really underperformed, but I guess China went crazy for this. It made $175 million in its opening weekend on a budget of $120, but it only made $51 million domestically. So that means $125 million of that was made overseas. So,
wow.
But I think where the real failure is just kind of the quality of the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but 6.2 fan vote, which is, not great. It's not terrible, but a 41 Metacritic. I mean, none of the Venom movies were well received critically, so that's not that surprising, but 41 is pretty low.
I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised when we see this movie.
Okay.
For one simple fact, the rule of cool.
The rule of cool, Jason's favorite rule.
Jason's bringing back the rule of cool.
Bringing back.
For episode 2, I mean.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's Venom. He does goofy things, and he eats people.
See,
what more do you want?
Eats people.
I've never known for Venom to do goofy things, because...
See, that's where you're... If you read... Okay, there are some very serious takes on the character, but like in the comics, Venom historically is actually kind of like on the goofier side.
Interesting.
A violent character, but goofier. Even a lot of Spider-Man games. I know like the most recent Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2, he's a very like serious antagonist, or he's played that way. But the character actually does lean more into the goofier aspects of his like personality.
Interesting.
It kind of evolves. Like it's always introduced as something very serious, like with Peter Parker and that whole storyline, and then when he goes over to Eddie, the character kind of grows.
Gotcha.
And then in the Venom movies, you kind of, because you can't do any of the Peter Parker stuff.
Yeah.
You just jump straight into the Eddie Brock angle.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And because as a protagonist, you can't really deal with the more antagonistic parts. It's still a violent movie, or more violent than other movies. He eats people.
Will they bring in other characters? I don't know. Will what's his name? Morbius show up? Probably not.
Morbius will probably never touch a screen ever again.
What happened with weren't they supposed to do a team up, Morbius and Michael Keaton, Vulture? Like they had a scene.
What?
They did, yes.
But that wasn't in Venom though, was it? That was like all the same universe, right?
It is.
Wait, Michael Keaton showed up in Morbius?
Yeah, he was in the
Michael Keaton's
post-credit
Vulture
scene.
What?
Yeah, it was. I forget what they said, but they made fun of the line that Michael Keaton said. It's like, we should team up or something. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think it's worth bringing in big cameos for Venom: The Last Dance, but maybe it is. Who knows? The trailer looked pretty fun.
I don't think Morbius is a big cameo.
No, that wouldn't be. Anyway, hopefully it'll be better than Madam Web, the other Sony release this year. I think it probably will be better, because it's hard to be worse than Madam Web, respectfully.
Respectfully.
Respectfully. Here's another comic book movie, Joker, Folie à Deux, which I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Folie à Deux.
Joker 2.
Which basically means like madness of two or something. It's like Harley
The
Quinn.
Folly of Two.
Yeah, that's like Harley Quinn is in this movie, played by Lady Gaga. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix returns. So, yeah, it's a musical, it's a drama, it's a courtroom drama, dark comedy. It's got all these different genres blended into it. $190 million budget. It's made $201 million worldwide. So it's kind of broke even in terms of the like base budget. But if you add in probably the 100 million plus that they spent on marketing, does not look good because this movie's not going to make that much more money in the movie theaters. It's been out for 3 weeks and it's already out of the domestic top 10. And if you compare that with the first Joker was in the domestic top 10 for 9 weeks. So it's basically a third of the production that Joker 1 had. So, yeah. I guess I'm the only one here that's seen it yet, but it's a conflicting movie for me because I think there's some things that are really good about it, actually. I think in terms, like, again, some filmmaking techniques are really good. Cinematography's great. The score is great. I think the performances are great. I think where it really suffers is its writing. And just the intentions of the movie in general, I feel like undo a lot of what the first movie did. And I don't want to spoil it because it's only been out for a few weeks. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, I don't want to ruin that for you. But yeah, just go into it with measured expectations. Go into it trying to see it for what it is. And I think if you do that, it probably won't be as bad as what everyone else is saying. However, it still does disappoint in a lot of ways. It's just a completely different movie than the first one for not the right reasons. And I'll stop talking after this stat real quick that I pulled up. But this is actually the second biggest drop-off for a sequel after its predecessor grossed $1 billion worldwide. Second only to the Marvels. So, like, the first movie in the franchise, a big hit, $1 billion, and then the sequel, this is the second biggest. I think it's like an 80% drop off or something like that. It's insane.
Are we considering the Marvels as just a sequel to the next MCU or a sequel to
Captain Marvel?
Okay, Captain Marvel.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering.
Other titles on this list: Alice in Wonderland 2, which I forget what that's even called. I forget the name.
I think it's Into the Looking Glass.
Yeah, Into the Looking Glass.
Alice in Wonderland, Into the Looking Glass.
Last year's Aquaman 2 actually is on this list, which is a surprise. I didn't think that'd be on there. But I guess the first one's just sneakily made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Same thing with Captain Marvel, like sneakily. That came out at a good time. But
yeah.
And Transformers: The Last Night, which I think I saw that when I was a kid. I don't really remember much from it. But
I saw it, didn't like it.
Anyway, not good for Joker, Folie à Deux. And I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think we're going to see another Todd Phillips Joker movie.
Well, I think he's straight up said that he's not going to do another one. Might not even do another DC movie, period. But I don't know what to really think about, like, kind of why he went in the direction that he did after the first one was so successful. I can see the story he wanted to tell, but for me, it kind of conflicts with the story that was already told in the first movie. I think logically, like, the progression makes sense technically. To what you were saying, it doesn't sound like it translated the best, but you can see what he was trying to do. However, I think it's not the most logical next step with the character. And I think trying, like, the first movie was already kind of detached from the greater DC universe as is, but there was still a lot of, like, Batman universe type.
There were some
stuff.
nods in there.
Well, more than nods, a lot of the story, I mean, a lot of the story had to do with the Waynes. And just kind of, like, Gotham as a city.
Yeah.
And So despite it being detached from all that, you still felt like, at least for me, I still felt like I was watching a movie set within a universe where the Batman will eventually exist kind of deal.
Yeah.
Especially the way it was set up, right? But towards the end. And it kind of just sounds like they go even further away from that in the second outing. Which is like really interesting to me when you have a movie titled The Joker. People want to go watch The Joker. Particularly this version of The Joker, which was so popular, and it sounds like they kind of go out of their way to kind of undo that or kind of break it down or this, that, and the other, which is like fine, I guess, but also that's not what people wanted to see. And then there's this whole argument is like, well, what's more important, what the audience wants or what the director's trying to tell kind of deal?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to answer that, but...
Yeah. So obviously like a big disappointment for that. And I just look back on, I'm like, I don't know if this movie needed to exist, but this is what we have. So
It exists now.
it exists now.
It's out in the world.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up our unsuccessful releases. Big winner, Beetlejuice. Biggest winner, biggest loser, Joker, Folie à Deux. So we have some movie news to talk about.
Spider-Man.
Thwip.
It's not about the money.
So Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland, so this is the MCU Spider-Man, has been announced for July 26, 2026. So
We're placing bets on it getting delayed.
oh yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I didn't know about this.
Well, I just thought it up right now this instant.
Oh, so you're just a betting man.
I have a feeling.
Okay, DraftKings Sportsbook. This episode is brought to you. No, I'm just
We're not
kidding.
We are not sponsored.
I do gamp.
Yeah, I am. So, like, the first thing I saw about Spider-Man in general was how Marvel and Sony are potentially having some changes to their partnership with the ownership of Spider-Man in movies. And I thought that was really interesting. I think some of it does tie into, the next Spider-Man 4 that Tom Holland is supposedly still going to be in, which is very interesting because this is the farthest we've gotten with the same actor playing Spider-Man in a movie. Yeah. There was potentially going to be a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, but that did not happen. After The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield, that just was, I think, not what people wanted it to be, and what
Not what I
it was
wanted.
also the MCU on the rise too, and they were like,
Yeah.
I think Disney really wanted to push like, hey, we should bring a new Spider-Man over here.
Yeah. So, according to Game Rants, in an article they set up about, I would say like a month ago, they said, quote, according to the revised agreement, Sony must now inform Marvel Studios about which Spider-Man villains it plans to use in its non-MCU projects. Consequently, Marvel will be restricted from using these characters until at least 30 days after the Sony movie hits video on demand. So that's just one thing that came out that could potentially change, which I thought was very interesting because, we've seen this in the past couple of years where Sony is doing their own Spider-Man stuff. It's not connected to MCU. We've seen the Venom movies.
Without Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah, they're doing all these things without Spider-Man because of whatever partnership they have. There are some restrictions. I don't know all of that, but it's just very interesting to see how the legal stuff can sometimes affect the creative visions that people can do or not do.
I think this almost definitely confirms, and it might have already been confirmed, that the fourth Spider-Man movie is going to revolve around Venom in some shape or fashion. I know it's going to be like another multiverse story, but from what I also heard is they're going to do the Venom storyline, which, honestly, I'm kind of tired of the Venom storyline. I know I just praised Venom 3, but the Venom solo movies are like completely different from the quote unquote Venom storyline of Peter Parker and the symbiote. Mm-hmm. We just got an iteration of it in the video games, which was okay at best or at worst, in my opinion.
I mean, there are a lot of villains that I think could be really fun to play with for Spider-Man. And I think Spider-Man Homecoming did something really good about doing someone we haven't seen yet by doing the Vulture. And I thought that was awesome. And then the second one was Mysterio. Like, we haven't really seen Mysterio yet. That was really cool. Third one was...
Everybody.
Third one was a little bit of a different story.
It was the Sinister, like, 5.
Yeah. What would that be? The Formidable 5?
Formidable 5.
Fantastic 5.
No,
I can't use that.
They weren't good guys. They
Four.
can't be fantastic.
Oh. Well, I mean, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Oh, man. I have another quote if you want to hear that about the story. So it's not super in depth, but according to Deadline, Tom Holland said, "All I can tell you is that it's happening. We are super close to having a creative. I think that is really worthy of the fans. But I think now we feel confident that the idea is strong enough that we can finally say that this is going ahead." He said that on Good Morning America, and he also continued to say, "We're going to shoot next summer." That would be summer of 2025. "The idea is crazy. It's a little different to anything we've done before, but I think the fans are going to really respond to it." End quote.
All right.
Interesting.
And Mr. Tom Holland is also starring in Christopher Nolan's next movie. That was announced.
What?
So that's going to come out before Spider-Man. So Tom Holland's a busy guy. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the 2026 release date is a little bit later than they wanted, but I think it was probably because of that. Tom Holland is doing... I mean, you're not going to turn down a Christopher Nolan movie. I mean, come on. So that is exciting.
He ghosted Nick Fury, but he won't ghost Christopher Nolan.
This guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ghost Christopher Nolan either.
At the end of the day, I'm excited to have another Spider-Man movie.
Me too.
Even if they might tackle something that I feel like's been done to death, which maybe they're not based off of his comic.
Yeah.
Tom Holland's going to be in his 30s when this movie comes out.
It's okay. He still looks like he's...
Or he might be close.
19.
He might be like 30. So, anyway, this one is not going to be directed by John Watts, who directed the first 3. Mm-hmm. It's going to be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. I don't know if that's how you say his name. But he directed Shang-Chi, which I think was a very okay movie. I think most fans like it, though. So
that doesn't make it a good thing.
So I think... anyway.
I think Shang-Chi's like really fun. I don't know if its issues have really anything to do with the directing.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to you guys.
You can say it. You can say it if you want.
I don't think any Marvel movie is like directed with unique like flair or style, other than maybe
Thor.
They're so copy and paste, like
the newer ones are, but like Captain America: First Avenger, Thor, the Avengers, the original Avengers one, and then Age of Ultron. They all feel very different. You can tell it's a different director.
I think Kevin Feige directs all these movies, personally.
Maybe these days.
But
anyways, my point is though. Well, I don't know what my point is. Okay. So, my two thoughts are, I'm fine with them switching out directors. I think it's fine to give one director 3 films, John Watts. I think he had 2 really great movies and one movie that exists within the Spider-Man mythos that I think a lot of people like, that I'm just okay with.
So, 3 good movies.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
2 good movies and one that's there.
I think I'm saying 3 good movies, but...
And
is the one that's there No Way Home for you?
No Way Home, I think is...
Or is it Far From Home?
Far From Home is the
middle one.
Like Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio, he's really cool. I think it's really stupid that they like to imply that Tony Stark would leave super glasses to a teenager. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a stupid plot. It's dumb. But then, like, the director, I'm not sold on him, but I don't know. They'll make it work, probably. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Spider-Man.
So, Yeah, and he was actually the director of the new Spider-Man was actually supposed to do the next Avengers movie, but they replaced him with the Russo brothers, who did Infinity War and Endgame. And also they did Captain America Civil War and Winter Soldier. So they've did 4 of the most popular MCU movies, 4 of the best ones. And this Spider-Man is actually coming out after the next Avengers movie. So it's like a couple months after, which kind of reflects that of Endgame, the second Spider-Man movie. Like everybody was like, oh no, it's over. But then Spider-Man was like on the schedule right away. So I don't know. I guess, I mean, I think Spider-Man absolutely has to be in Avengers Doomsday. Like if he's not, what is the MCU doing?
They're missing out on the draw of even bringing back Robert Downey Jr.
Spider-Man,
because he's so heavily involved with Tom Holland.
If he is the main draw right now for the MCU, it's not Iron Man anymore. It's not Captain America anymore.
I mean, maybe Deadpool.
If Spider-Man's not there, like, what are they even gonna do with this movie?
That's a good point. So I was talking to a friend about this. Shout out Thomas Ward if you're listening. So he was saying how it almost would lend itself really powerful to the story if we have Tom Holland's Spider-Man interacting with Tony Stark's Doctor Doom, because if we're going the route where this Tony Stark isn't the same Tony Stark, but he looks like the Tony Stark that mentored Peter Parker, like that would be a very interesting thing to play on in the story, where like Peter is having these mixed emotions. Like he's confronting this guy who's evil, but yet he's looking at someone who was so good to him. And he was like, this could be something really cool to play on. So that also is something I'm pondering as well in my mind now.
They would have to like really nail that on the head though. You know? I don't doubt Robert Downey Jr. can pull it off, because I think it's pretty clear like he's a really like a great actor. But I'm like so worried like the writing is going to be like super cheesy.
The Russo brothers is a good sign for me, but so I have some hope. But
yeah,
I mean, all the setup is actually like pointing towards like they could probably they like you have the right pieces to pull this off. I just feel like Marvel's track record is so spotty as of late, but the Russo brothers' track record isn't, as far as Marvel movies go.
Right.
I just don't know where this like. I feel like this Avengers Doomsday movie hasn't been set up. I guess we have another year next year, which we have Captain America coming out, and I think the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
But I don't know if those 2 movies are really going to be like...
And they don't inspire me.
Because think about what set up the Avengers. Originally, there was like 2 Iron Man movies, right? Before the first of it. There was, I mean...
2 Iron Mans, Captain America, and a Thor.
And even in like post-credit scenes, they had
people like to forget.
They had some interactions even before that. And then the next Avengers movies, I mean, they were all set up because of really...
There was stuff going on in the other movies.
I felt like there was momentum leading to these Avengers movies, where I feel like this one is just like we have a lot of... everything's floating.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what like direction they're going. So I am curious, like, since Spider-Man 4 comes out after Doomsday, I just, again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. I don't know where this is going, you know, at all. But maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
I know we can probably move on, but real quick, do you think instead of like the way they set up Thanos, do you think that Doctor Doom would make his appearance in Doomsday and that start something from there?
Like there's like they introduce him in the movie that he's the big bad in.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, like probably. Unless they set him up at the end of like the Thunderbolts or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I really have no idea.
They might do like a post-credit.
Are they doing any shows?
Like they did with Thanos, but...
Are they doing any shows?
Any big shows?
We're like...
I don't know.
I mean...
The only ones that I think haven't happened is like the Ironheart one, which I don't even know if that's happening.
Well, before the stuff happened...
Blade is like postponed indefinitely.
Before the stuff that happened...
Which is like the one that I was actually excited about seeing. Anyway.
With the King actor.
Oh, oof.
Well, because that's what...
Jonathan
That's
Majors.
what this 5th Avengers movie was going to be. It was going to be something to do with Kang.
Yeah, it was
They were
originally
se-
going to be called Kang Dynasty.
They were setting him up
Yeah.
in the Loki television show and Ant-Man,
Mm-hmm.
which the Loki show, at least season 2, is like really good. I can't stand Ant-Man 2,
Yeah,
but
Ant-Man
at least
3.
he was there.
Or Ant-Man 3.
Wait, Ant-Man.
Ant-Man 3, sorry.
Yeah, Quantumania.
I don't like Ant-Man 2
Yeah,
that much
that
either,
movie
but
was not.
I like it better than 3.
Ant-Man and the Wasp was like, it was almost like a fun break for Marvel's
Yeah.
universe.
And it even set up like the most crucial moment in all of MCU's history.
It really did.
Was when he figured out the quantum like time travel or whatever.
Yeah,
More
the
like he
time
got
difference
stuck.
and stuff.
So people say the Avengers saved the world, but it was actually a rat that was walking on top of the like quantum machine that brought him out. But anyway,
Some say it was Master Splinter.
not,
I'm just kidding.
another crossover. Man, that's the most random crossover since the G.I. Joe Transformers one.
Master
He's trying
Splinter
to
was
get
on
set
his
up.
way to get some pizza for his kids.
Are you talking about the end credit scene from Bumblebee from 10 million years ago, where they introduced the G.I. Joe things? Oh no, that wasn't Bumblebee. That was
What?
Rise of the Beasts.
The one that came out
What?
last year. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It was
Yeah, they take the main character kid to like some secret place, and I thought they were setting up the organization from the very first Transformers movie. No, they're just setting up the G.I. Joes.
What?
But like after that, we literally haven't heard anything.
Probably because
my
people were like, "What is
goodness.
this?"
Was Rise of the Beast like not a success? I don't even know. I think it kind of was. I don't know.
Well, but the G.I. Joe movies, they're not that popular. Or G.I. Joe as a franchise.
Well, we are about to talk about upcoming films, but that hasn't been announced. So maybe that's in another episode.
Another
But
good
yeah.
segue.
Spider-Man 4, we're excited, cautiously. 5 years difference between No Way Home and Spider-Man 4. So,
Like story-wise or between then and now?
well,
The release dates.
actual time.
Oh.
Not, and, in universe time, I have no idea. But
Yeah.
I don't even know what year they're in currently, but whatever. That's something we don't have to figure out right now. So let's talk about some upcoming movies. So I've kind of divided this into blockbusters and also some awards contenders. So Venom 3 just came out, obviously. Red 1. Who's in that? The Rock and Chris Evans save Christmas. Santa Claus, who's played by
J. Jonah Jameson.
J.K. Simmons, yes. Completely ridiculous, stupid trailer. The movie is apparently the budget got escalated to like $250 million, which is stupid.
Can't tell from the
That's
trailer.
ridiculous. And
Those-
it's gonna be one of the biggest box office failures ever. Like, there's no way this movie makes money. But I mean, I know it's got star power, but
Man.
The idea of having Chris Evans save Santa is kind of like funny. I guess The Rock can be there too. But I watched the trailer like multiple times because it was on TV a bunch.
yeah.
Bro, those like fake snowmen. I mean, I feel like I could have animated those.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
I don't know
$200 million, I don't know where that money went.
Well,
I wouldn't have animated the snowman.
apparently, The Rock has been a big issue on the set. Apparently, he was showing up like 8 hours late to film.
He's
which
The Rock. He's
every
the-
hour if you've never been on a movie set, I've never been on one, but from what I know, is like, and you obviously can speak to this. Every minute that you're on there, you're like spending money. Like,
That's-
people are getting paid by the hour, right? So if you're 8 hours late, you can't shoot the scene. That's 8 hours of down the drain. I don't think it was probably 8 hours every day, but and I'm sure there's other ridiculous things that happen too, but that's unacceptable, I think.
Wow.
And they're gonna reap the consequences of it. So anyway, Red 1, I'll probably go see it just because I see most everything, but
Something to get into the Christmas mood, the consumerist mood.
yeah. I'm not a betting man, but if I was betting, I would bet for that to fail.
I'm a betting man. $5.
So Jason's going to take
$5 on the under.
Jason's going to take the under, and it's going to be a mega hit. Gladiator 2. That is a movie I am excited about. Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington getting Oscar bait talks. Well, not bait talks, but like Oscar talks. Ridley Scott, a legend of cinema. What can I say?
I'm excited.
It looks good. The trailer looks great. It looks fun.
I get more excited as we get closer to it, and like the more I see about it, because I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I'm like, another sequel. But like, kind of watching the trailers, some of the newer trailers, and then some of the stuff like going on behind it. It's like, it looks like they kind of cared about this movie,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and that they really wanted to do a faithful sequel to the original Gladiator.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, it'll make grown men cry. It made me cry at least.
Gladiator's an all-timer.
Grown
You
man.
know, it's so good. So that comes out November 22nd. The week after Red 1, so we probably could have released the same day, and Red 1 just would have made no money. But Bonhoeffer, so...
Is this the actual title of the movie you're about to say?
Yeah, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin.
Sounds lame.
It's a biopic about... So if you don't know who Bonhoeffer was, he was like a German. He was like a German Christian who wrote a lot of
Now I feel bad.
stuff about like theology and, you know, persecution and, you know, I haven't read any of his stuff personally, but he wrote a book that's like really popular. It's called The Cost of Discipleship, I think, if you've ever heard of that.
I think I have heard of that.
So he's very famous in like the Christian space. And anyway, he also was part of a plot to assassinate Hitler.
Yes.
The one with the briefcase?
No, I think that's Valkyrie, or maybe it's the same. I don't think it's the same. But anyway, if you haven't heard of his story, you should check it out. They're making a movie about it. The song of the trailer was "Hello, Darkness, My Old Friend."
Oh my gosh.
it was kind of a corny.
Go ahead
trailer.
and finish the cover.
Well, I don't know the rest of the words. I've come to talk to you again. Yeah, after that, I'm not. So it's an Angel Studios movie, I think. So
Okay.
if you're familiar with them, like The Sound of Freedom,
The
last
Chosen.
year, The Chosen.
Yep. What else?
Well, not The Chosen anymore, but that's a whole nother
interesting
drama. But anyway,
Yeah.
it looks fun. I mean, we're Christian guys here, so we might be interested in seeing it.
It does sound interesting. I'm just looking at the title and I'm just thinking, like, I understand it might be, I don't know. Like, I just look at the title. I'm thinking surely there's something within the story that we could have created as the title. You know, like
Nah.
like for Tom Cruise's movie where he tried to assassinate Hitler. That one's called Valkyrie. Like that has kind of a nice ring to it, and there's a lot of ties to the story. But I'm like, man, surely there's something here that we could do. Even Bonhoeffer is just a cool name itself.
Yeah, it's like Oppenheimer.
It's like they said
Yeah.
Bonhoeffer, and they're like, nobody knows who this is. We should
Oppenheimer.
probably put he was a pastor, spy, and an assassin.
But like
I thought that was the tagline for the movie, but that's actually the title, which
interesting.
I don't know.
But look at Oppenheimer. Like I didn't really know.
But Oppenheimer is like a very popular name.
Well, that
Okay.
and that was based off a book that was with a different title. So I don't know. They just probably thought it was cool. The rule of cool, Jason.
It was actually based off
I
of the
hope-
life of Robert J. Oppenheimer,
No,
not the book.
it was like. I forget
No,
what
but if it was,
called.
I'm just messing.
So I don't know. Maybe I hope they do him justice. I think.
I mean, it
I
sounds
think they're trying to
interesting.
set him up as like an action hero, which I'm okay with. Kind of like treating like, oh, this guy was awesome, but also
Yeah.
like I hope they do it in a respectful way to his story,
Yeah.
and not just treat it as like a silly action movie. So
Yeah.
Wicked, November 22nd.
Wicked, man.
I've never seen the Broadway show, but I hear it's really popular. And Ariana Grande is in it, and Cynthia Erivo. So
As the two main characters.
two leads.
Who's Ariana? Who does she play?
I don't know her
She's
character's
the
name.
Good Witch of the West.
No,
or
well, maybe.
East, or the one that's in
The one that's green is Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
The one
but
that's not green is just white. Is Ariana Grande, or I guess she's not white technically, but that's awkward. She looks
no,
white,
but that's
Whiter than green.
whiter than green. Yes.
she's the
We're getting canceled 2 episodes.
the witch
in,
that shows up and helps Dorothy out. The one in the bubble.
I guess.
Glinda?
yeah.
Is that her name? Glinda?
I thought she was just the Good Witch of the East or something. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen The Wizard of Oz.
She had a name.
Yeah.
Gwen. Either way.
Or maybe she's the one that's crushed by the house. I don't know.
I'm looking up the.
Either way, Wicked. Broadway.
She plays Glinda.
Glenda.
So her name is just straight up Glinda. I thought it was
And Cynthia Erivo plays Elphaba.
the Wicked Witch of the West.
Sure. I don't know
Wait,
anything
what
about...
was that name?
I don't... Elphaba?
Elphaba.
I don't know. I have never seen the Wicked, and it's been like probably 20 years since I've seen Wizard of Oz. So
Dude, The Wizard of Oz? It's a movie, all right.
it's one of the movies.
I could talk about that
It's
movie.
a classic.
Technicolor?
Maybe we can
So
cover that
beautiful.
one. Technicolor, yes.
I've had a crisis recently because you can't recreate Technicolor anymore.
What do you mean?
Wow.
The actual film that they use to film Technicolor,
Right. Like you can't
the chemicals that they use, that doesn't exist anymore. Like the companies that made the chemicals and all that stuff, they don't exist.
Could you reverse engineer it?
They probably could.
A layman couldn't.
Somebody
I'm certain a company could with enough money
What about a standing
and
man?
resources. A standing man, he also probably could not do
What
it.
about a floating man?
I've done I've looked it up. Like I've done research. I'm like, dude, how do we recreate this? And they're like, oh, you can't.
Interesting.
All right. Well, somebody fact check that.
I'm
please.
interested to hear more about this, Jason.
Somebody fact check that and let
Point
us
is,
know.
I'm sad about it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You know what?
over it.
You know what? We're not upset about Moana 2. That wasn't a very good segue. I'm gonna admit, because I mean, somebody actually could be upset about it. But Moana 2 comes out November 27th.
Ooh-way.
Another Disney sequel. Moana's kind of like always been the awkward little sister of Frozen and Tangled. Like hasn't been like quite as popular, but
You think
I mean,
so?
I think so. I think it's kind of taken the back seat, but I still think it's good though. Like I think people like it, but
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't heard a lot about Moana 2, and we're within a month of its
Well,
release now.
it's actually because it wasn't supposed to be released in theaters. I'm pretty sure at first it was supposed to come out during the pandemic on Disney
Really?
Plus. Or late. It was supposed to be on Disney Plus.
So we gotta have somebody fact check Jason on these. He's making.
Now this is a legit thing.
okay.
It was delayed for a fact, and it was originally supposed to be
Okay.
a Disney Plus only sort of deal.
Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine.
But I think that's why you haven't heard so much about it, because it's been stuck in production. Hell.
Heck. Yeah. So I mean, I've seen some trailers though. So
Based off of the trailer, at least the first teaser trailer, it seemed at least the same minimum production quality
Yeah.
in terms of animation and stuff. Because I know sometimes, depending on the platform it's going to go to, they could cut corners, stuff like that, which is a different story. But, from the teaser trailer I saw, I've only seen the teaser trailer. It looks like, there's a lot to be explored yet, because they didn't share much, but at least for the production quality, it seemed at least the animation was at a level as the first one, as a minimum,
yeah, it's got all the same people back, The Rock and the main girl in it. So yeah, we'll see.
We shall see.
I mean, I like Disney animated stuff. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good. It looks fine. So
Good holiday movie.
yeah, I feel like they always release an animated movie right around Christmas. Last year with Wish, the year before I think Encanto. So it's kind of a good spot for them. Wish was not a good spot last year, but that's not because of the release date. Anyway, some other minor ones. I don't think this is Angel Studios, but the best Christmas pageant ever, made by the guy who made The Chosen. Apparently it's a book that was adapted. Looks really corny. It has the comedian Pete Holmes in it.
Pete.
I'm going to pretend like I know who that is.
So just pretend like you know who that is. He's kind of funny. Heretic, a indie horror movie with it's about Mormons, two Mormon women that go up to Hugh Grant's door to how they do their whole thing, and they're like, "Would you like to hear about your Lord and Savior?" So anyway, they go in there, and then I guess it's like a death trap. They have to survive a horror movie. Looks pretty interesting.
Ouch.
So that's all the November releases. I just kept it in November for this. So awards movies coming out. There's a movie called Here with Tom Hanks, and Robert Zemeckis.
Yes, I've seen the trailer for that, where it's like all takes place in their like living room.
Yeah,
it's the same camera angle. The camera doesn't move.
Yeah, that from the trailer. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So.
I'm highly intrigued by that.
Yeah,
agreed.
Anything with like funny or interesting camera work,
gimmicky stuff. It's only gimmicky.
It's only gimmicky if it fails. If it works,
it's only gimmicky if it's gimmicky. You know, if it actually helps tell the story in a better way, then it's not gimmicky. So we'll see.
I think based off of like the trailer I saw and the kind of story they want to tell, this idea that a lot of these important life moments take place in this one part of their house can be really cool.
Yeah.
If they actually like execute it well. I don't know, who's the director?
Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, you said that.
Legend. I mean, Forrest Gump, Castaway, like all these famous Back to the Future. So
I mean, this one might be a certified pre-release banger.
Yeah. Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah, reuniting Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. They were everyone's favorite romance duo in the 90s. So
You've got mail.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a solid movie too.
Joe versus the Volcano is a personal favorite of mine. But
what?
Yeah. It's not one of their more popular ones, but
Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah.
That's a movie?
Yeah, it's an actual movie. Go look it up. Is it the best movie you'll ever watch? No, but it's it's funny.
Okay.
To put on at night with your wife or something and just have a good time. So
noted.
A Real Pain, which stars Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. Written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good movie. Dialogue-driven movie. I think they're like brothers or cousins or something. Yeah, it's just getting a lot of awards buzz. Kieran Culkin's coming off of a bunch of Emmy wins for what is the movie? What is that show? Succession. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. But
with the one with Adam Scott, that one?
No, that's Severance.
That's Severance.
Yeah, the other S-titled movie
is
show.
Succession. Is that one with? Is Paul Giamatti in that? Or am I also thinking of another movie? I don't think
so. This is a show that started in 2018. It's got, yeah.
Either way.
So, anyway, looks like a fun movie, and also Blitz, which is like I think a World War II British movie about like the bombings. So, Saoirse Ronan is in it.
Yet another World War II British movie.
British World War II movie. There's also I think a World War II American movie coming out this year in December as well, called The Brutalist. Should be interesting.
That's December, not November. Can't talk about that.
So we can't talk about it. Yeah, so those are the upcoming movies. So before we head out, we're just going to give our recommendations. We did this last time.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it again.
Admittedly, I didn't watch anything that you guys recommended.
I wasn't recommending it to you. I was recommending it to the imaginary audience.
The hypothetical audience that probably doesn't exist other than our friends. But hey, anyway, maybe one day. So, Asher, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, I am very excited to talk about these two movies.
Two?
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Take your time.
They were just both, I think, very good honorable mentions. So, last time I said Young Woman in the Sea, right? This one is
Old Man in the Desert.
No, I was trying to think of something. It also has woman in the title, but it's plural now. So this is 2019's Little Women.
I've seen that.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw this movie last year. Was it last year? It was either last year or early of this year, and I wanted to put it on here because I thought it would be a good recommendation for kind of a family holiday movie without it being a holiday movie. Mm-hmm. It's very warm. It's very charming. It follows these group of sisters who are just growing up and, living life. It's early. It's a period piece. I don't remember the exact year. I think it's, either way, it's like a period piece. And, it's just very nice. Like, there were a lot of things I liked about it, about these girls growing up and discovering more of their identity, but also learning how to just still stay in a relationship with one another. And I very much liked that dynamic, and I liked the dynamic with their parents as well. Even though the father wasn't always as present, they still had this very strong connection, and you could tell that through the acting. Yeah. And also, as like a little honorable mention within it, Timothée Chalamet is in it, and I think he does a very good job as, I would say, a supporting actor for these star sisters. So yeah, if you have, I would say, like teenagers up, if you're parents who have teenagers and up, this would be an interesting movie to look into for the holidays. Yeah, it's got charm, it's got some heart tugs, it's got some good heartwarming themes to it. So yeah, that's that first one. Yeah. Second one is one that my wife and I watched the other week, and it's Wreck-It Ralph. Guys,
Wreck-It Ralph. Dude,
2012's Wreck-It Ralph.
I love Wreck-It Ralph.
Man,
it is.
I saw that.
It is such a golden nugget. Like, it's so fun. It's really cool seeing how, I don't know if Fix-It Felix Jr., the video game, is a thing in real life.
It's not.
Okay, so they made it for the movie.
Yeah.
I love how they made a video game for this movie, yet it takes place in a world where there are other video games that we're familiar with, like Sonic, like Pac-Man and stuff. And it's just a fun, creative movie, really funny. And I really like the dynamic between Wreck-It Ralph and the girl, I think her name is Vanellope. Yeah. So between Vanellope, right?
Yeah, it is with a V.
Vanellope.
It's like Vanellope because she's like a candy.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
So between Vanellope and Ralph, like there's this really cool relationship that they come into, and it's kind of like, I would say, like a big brother, little sister type dynamic. Mm-hmm. And it's just really cool seeing, a guy who thought he was alone and wasn't cared about come into just a greater identity and find purpose in life as a video game character. So very fun, very creative. Gave me some tears, not gonna lie. But yeah, Little Women 2019 and Wreck-It Ralph 2012 are my recommendations for this time.
Yeah, I remember I went to see Little Women in theaters in 2019, and I was like the only person in that showing. But it was, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, the acting is incredible.
Absolutely.
Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh. I think Emma Watson's in it. Laura Dern. There's just a lot of really famous actors. Definitely recommend it. Great costumes. Like, everything is just so, well directed. I think that's the, what's her name? The Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig directed that.
Yes. Wow. Yes, she did.
So, Wreck-It Ralph, also great. I guess I can go next because I'm talking.
Go for it.
So, I'm going to double down on the Penguin again.
Double down. Two fins.
So, I have another one, too, to mix it up, but I'll start with the Penguin. So, last episode when we recorded, there had only been one episode, and now we have 6 episodes, I think. Or was there 2 episodes? I can't remember.
Shoot.
But through 6 episodes, it's like the best show on TV right now. It's so good. Like, really competently directed and written. The performances are amazing. Kristen Milioti, I think is her name, plays Sophia Falcone, who's like one of the central characters of the movie and like one of the most terrifying villains you'll ever watch. And I think she's supposed to be like the most sympathetic character in the show, which is crazy how they're able to make these really terrible people, like, you're able to empathize with them in weird ways. But yeah, it's just a really entertaining, like, crime drama. It's kind of like The Sopranos is the, I've never seen The Sopranos, but that's what people say. It's like The Sopranos. So definitely check that out. It's a little bit on the mature side, so probably don't bring your kids to watch that on HBO Max. But the other one I watched yesterday, actually. It's a 1980 Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
I have.
But that one, I'm trying to like watch more like older classics. So that one was on my list on Max for a while, and I finally watched it, and it's not like the most happy movie ever. You know, it's more of a deconstruction of like that era of time, which is like the 40s, 50s, and 60s is kind of what it covers, of like how, I mean, it's based off a real story, but how like, I don't know, rage and like obsession can lead you to like completely ruining your life. Like the people, like the characters in these are like really bad people for the most part. Like they mistreat their wives. You know, there's a lot of violence. It's kind of like it's a boxing movie ultimately, but it says a lot more about that. And I think this is one of Scorsese's, I guess, earlier stuff. But yeah, it's a very intriguing movie. It's got great performances. Robert De Niro won an Oscar for it. It also, I think, won some other ones. But anyway, would recommend watching it. Yeah, so that's me. What about you, Jason?
I also have two things to
Wow.
recommend. First, Superman and Lois, the television series.
Is that the live action one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not there is an animated one kind of going on, but I haven't seen
My
that.
Adventures with Superman, I think.
Yeah. So not that.
Okay.
The live action starring Tyler Hoechlin as Clark Kent / Superman. It started airing in 2021. It's actually airing its final season right now. I think there's like 3 episodes out. Actually, 4 tonight. It's just, I mean, kind of a hot take. Tyler Hoechlin's probably my favorite on-screen Superman. I really like Henry Cavill a lot, but as far as like super well-rounded in all the material he's been in, Tyler Hoechlin knocks the character out of the park for me. It airs on the CW, however, it's funded by HBO. So it has a much bigger production budget than stuff like, you know, CW had The Flash and The Arrow and Supergirl once upon a time. And if you've seen Supergirl, it's that version of Superman.
Okay.
Sort of. It's the same character. It's kind of like it's kind of muddy on if it's the exact same version of him, but it's the same actor. He's just much older now. And he has 2 sons, twins. And they're like teenagers. They're like 14 or 15 when the show starts, and just kind of navigating that. And it's just super interesting. I kind of went into it thinking it was going to be like really like corny and cheesy, and you know, Superman can kind of be that way by the nature of the character. But I thought it'd be like really annoying. You know, that typical kind of like CW drama that you get that's associated with that network. The show's actually been like way more nuanced with these characters. And it does handle a lot of the similar tropes you'd expect about a father who's a superhero and the children who may or may not gain powers, wink, wink. And those dynamics, right? But it handles it like really, really well. And they do they have like some of their own unique villains along with existing villains from the Superman mythos. I think if you like Superman, you have to watch Superman and Lois. And I think if you don't like Superman that much, but you're just like superheroes in general or like DC in general, you got to give this show a chance. And it'll put you on the Superman bend. I don't know.
Nice.
All right.
The other film I'd like to recommend is 2016's Hell or High Water, starring Chris Pine and Ben Foster as these 2 brothers who are doing a series of bank heists. And they're kind of being pursued by this, I think it's a U.S. Marshal, Jeff Bridges. It was played by Jeff Bridges. If I had to describe it, it's a modern Western. In the sense that, you know, it takes place in Texas. It's like a really dusty movie. You have, you know, your kind of classic action shootouts and stuff like that. But I think the real meat of the movie is this relationship between Chris Pine and Ben Foster. So they're two brothers, I think, like I mentioned. And they kind of don't really like each other. Particularly one brother doesn't like the other. However, they're kind of forced to work together and do these things because of like certain circumstances that I'm not going to spoil. And it just kind of comes together in this really like almost sweet narrative. And it's odd because really what they're doing is terrible. And it kind of leads them to doing like some pretty awful things. However, you still feel like as the movie's like winding down, you're like, man, I'm really rooting for these guys. And I want to see them succeed, even though they're robbing banks. So, I don't know, if you like Westerns, if you like Chris Pine, who I feel like doesn't get a chance to act a ton. I mean, he's been in the Wonder Woman movies and the Star Trek movies. I would give it a watch.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges got an Oscar nomination for that.
He's really good in the movie too.
Best Picture nominee as well. So
it's a great movie.
All right, guys. So we will end it with our social media. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it will be On The Slate Podcast. We would love to get connected with you there. If you want to listen or watch the episodes on YouTube, it is On The Slate Podcast. Our email, if you want to get connected with us, is onthislatepod@gmail.com.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the On the Slate Movie Podcast. I'm Wesley.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Asher.
Thanks for listening, and God bless.